Welcome back to the Anachroschism. When we left off last time, the group was leaving after a rendezvous at A Barrow Castle and headed back to the Witch's Cauldron to await word from someone. Cass mentioned she was sending one of her top men to meet up with them and kind of give them instructions about this investigation that they may or may not end up pursuing, while they await word from the Empress on whether or not they're going to try to arrest Faust Dryden. Just that little trifling detail. Nothing major. So, as you guys leave the castle and start making your way back to the Witch's Cauldron, one of the things you notice pretty quickly is that the town has gotten more lively now that you've gotten into actual hours of the day that people go about and do things in. Still mid-morning at latest, but even so, the courtyard and the castle is a little bit more bustling, and it starts to pick up even more so as you head back towards the residential district and also the market district, which are next to each other. All sorts of folks outside, to and from. The market district, you can just kind of hear the hustle and bustle as you're heading past, whereas you had gotten there basically pretty early and bought some things, but now it's a little bit busier than it was then. As you make your way back to the Witch's Cauldron, one of the other things you notice is that you had seen just the start of a performance as you were heading over towards oh god, what was the name of that pub? The Lamox Tavern, to have your bar fight throw down. You had seen some performances outside. That outside courtyard outside the Witch's Cauldron is much busier now, and as you approach the front of the inn, one of the things you see is there is a female singing with a tambourine, has waist-level brown hair, burnt orange streaks running through it, these cobalt blue eyes, loose-fitting white plainclothes. But the thing that kind of draws your attention, especially you, Tessian, is those blue eyes have vertical slits in the pupils, and out of the back of the white plainclothes are 4 bushy foxtails. The performer outside the Witch's Cauldron is a kitsune.
My cat is here for this, very much so.
She has arrived.
She has arrived, indeed.
And there's quite a crowd gathered around her. She seems to be rather popular.
You could say she's a foxy lady.
Sure. You could say that.
Are we familiar with this race at all?
I'm sure I'm not.
As I say, I don't know that. I have a feeling Tessian perhaps may have heard of them, but even as someone who pursues the more exotic female types, I don't know that Tessian's even ever seen one.
Yeah.
I'm definitely staring, and it's kind of obvious.
Me too.
This is Tuesday for me, whatever. Everything's weird.
Everything is weird.
The nice thing about it, though, is when you guys first arrived, you got a few strange looks just because of the time of day that you were, approaching and looking for a room, which was just a normal time for most people. Now there's nobody really paying you any mind whatsoever as you approach the inn.
What are you all looking at?
Look at that woman over there. She has
What,
tails.
you've never seen a bod before?
I've never seen anyone with tails before. Have you?
I don't know. It's not really going to change my response, but I guess I'm curious.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
From how far
I
east
can't
Timberbrook
say I
is
have,
positioned.
but I have to imagine there's a great many number of creatures I've never seen on this world. I just don't know that I care anymore.
Are we sure it's not some kind of spell? I've never seen anything like it nor heard anything about it.
Well, I've heard something about them. Kitsune, I believe they're called. Fox people of some kind. Never seen one, though.
Huh.
I'm just
Well-
still looking out of curiosity.
Is
I'm
it
gonna-
not impolite to stare?
Why, yes, Karash, I believe it is.
Come on, we don't want to ruin her performance here.
Oh, right. Okay. And I'll reluctantly follow you guys.
You slip her your phone number.
Just learned a little bit about a couple people here.
If you're heading
Right.
inside,
Mhm.
the receptionist, who is different than the person you interacted with in the dark hours of the morning, still gives you a nod, seems to have been tipped off to the register's new entries and the fact that you already have a room, so doesn't try and stop you in any way or ask what your business is, just gives you a curt nod, and you guys are free to head up to your room if you'd like.
So what do we know as the characters now? That we need to wait until we receive word on what the play with Dryden is?
Yes. Cass had mentioned at the end of your correspondence that she was going to send one of her best men over to fill you in with more details about what was happening with the kidnappings, and that she had hoped to isolate the Empress for a conversation that would not be overheard sometime in the next few hours, perhaps. So she said it might take a little bit to get her isolated enough to trust that conversation, because she probably wants to be very sure that no one else is listening.
Tessie, do you think it's worth checking out any leads for these mysterious kidnappings, or should we just wait for Rezia to send her man to get us?
Well, I think it might behoove us just to wait. I wouldn't want us to accidentally step on any ongoing investigations or anything of the sort. But I mean, there's probably no harm if you get bored. I mean, they're all professionals here. I doubt you could do any real damage.
Okay, I'm not going to say what I wanted to say. Okay, we can wait.
So you guys probably at least have a few minutes to decompress, to digest what happened, to have any conversations you wish to have, because you know how long it is from the castle to here. Even if she went and got somebody immediately, it would take at least 15, 20 minutes minimum to get somebody over there.
I'll probably day drink a little, just a little something, Let's order I don't know, a nice they probably don't have champagne, but a nice wine or something for the morning, something fruity.
The bartender recommends the Will of the Whiskey.
Oh.
Will of the Whiskey. Okay, yeah, I'll take one of those.
It's just swamp gas. Don't do it.
He also warns you, because of the time of day, not to drink more than one.
Copy that.
Sounds like a challenge.
It's not meant to be, although it does sound like one. I'll leave it to your imagination what happens if you drink more than one.
Aw. All right.
Well, yeah, Tessin will have one. I don't know. How is it? How's it taste?
You take a sip without doing your usual prestidigitation on it, and it's actually surprisingly good. It has kind of a smoky aftertaste, but in a pleasant way. Like it lingers in your throat, but it doesn't. It's a pleasant aftertaste, and not one that lingers in burns or is uncomfortable.
Tessian, have you found that prestidigitation has ruined the quality of your life in any way?
And he's like, "No, I'm not sure what you mean." As he prestidigitates some dust off his shoulder.
Because at some point, I think it would be really cool. But at some point, it's like when you can make everything taste as incredible as you want, life starts to lose a little spice. No pun intended.
I mean, you can always have it taste regular and then just add to it. It's an additive of sorts. You don't need to change the flavor entirely. Simply take what's there and, build upon it.
I suppose as long as you maintain that level of restraint, it would be fine. I would make everything taste like cheesecake.
Well,
and I think that's the danger.
Sometimes everything tastes like, shit. And then of course, you change the flavor, but,
Well, good to know. Have we decided on a name yet? Back to extremely important matters. We were all supposed to come with a proposal. And I look at everyone.
I've been thinking, and I think, given the black opals that we have, I think the Order of the Black Opal would work. I know some were leaning towards fellowship, but I do like order myself.
It's not a hill I'm going to die on. I like the name. I could live with that. I would still like to put forth the Fellowship of the Silver Dragon. It's very old-timey to me. Has a certain air about it.
I don't hate it either. I like them both.
So Grail and Karash failed their homework. Lena, you're off the hook because your vote is important. So
Okay.
you kind of get to choose.
Do I have to choose right this moment, or?
I would like to have a vote. Tessian and my votes, I think, are clear, but Grail and Karash can at least vote, so they are contributing something to this.
No, I'm sure they've got ideas. Come then.
Oh, I'm sure I got plenty of them. I ain't good with words, though.
Is this like making our own clan name?
Yeah.
In a way, you can think of it
Sort
that
of.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing off the top of your head, Karash, what do you think?
Followers of Cord.
Well, maybe
That
something
works for
unique
you.
to our group. I don't necessarily follow Cord, Karash.
Friends of Cord?
I haven't seen him in a vision yet.
What
I don't know if I can
separates-
call him my friend?
What separates us, if we were the friends of Cord, from any other follower of Cord?
We are the friends, not the followers.
Okay. Well, Karash's
got a
proposal
point there.
is the friends of Cord.
We have been known to resort to war, violence at times. It's not completely inaccurate.
Grail,
I
do you
think
have
on it.
anything off the top of your head?
No, I do not.
And Lena, if you don't have anything that you're just itching to get out there, if you're really hoping we would do something with the band of whatever, now's the time.
No. I like the ideas that you've all proposed. Do we all want to take a vote?
I think
I
so.
think I'm ready to vote if we all are.
We could also table this for another time when it actually matters.
We've already dedicated too much time. I say let's vote now. Start the branding early.
Plus, it's something I've been thinking about for a while anyways, so might
All
as
right.
well vote now.
Here are the rules. You can't vote for your own.
Okay.
And everyone write it down on a piece of paper.
Oh, okay. That's fine too.
And then we'll give it all to Lena, and she will let us know who the winner is.
Like,
So obviously, if we're going to actually do this, what everybody should do is type their vote into Roll20, and we'll all hit enter at the same time.
Okay.
That'll
boy.
be,
Log
that'll
in.
be as though the written ballots were submitted. While they're doing that, it should be noted that because I have no voice in this room, I cannot suggest things like "Don't hate us because we conate us," or
awesome.
if perhaps if we wanted to do just a light spin on an existing idea, maybe do like the quarter of the black opal, quarter.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
I know. I'm not proud of it. I'm just vamping while you guys type. So
I'm trying to launch the game. It's
See, this is a
slow
good-
going.
this is-
Unprepared.
This is a good check.
Unprepared.
Yeah, this is a good check for people who haven't rolled 20 yet because you're probably going to need it.
For voting.
Yes.
Yes.
This is how we can do a secret ballot. Now they can't see this happening, but we'll see the results and they'll all come in at the same time. So
We
All
can
right.
all just simultaneously text Lena. 'cause,
So,
that's the
Karash,
thing.
you can do this. You this is well within your area of expertise now.
I'm gonna draw a picture of what I want. Doodling.
Pictionary.
Okay,
I don't know
everybody
how to,
good?
how to draw
Hold
a
on.
chord.
I'm
but with
almost
the-
there.
Yeah, you're
It's still
voting too,
loading.
Kayla.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I'm working
Once
Does
on
she
it.
get does she get like 2 votes or anything like that?
She breaks ties.
She gets a tiebreaker.
Like,
Okay, so I should probably wait until I see everyone's.
No, we're
and
all
then-
doing it at once.
Oh, we're all
Oh,
going
yeah.
at the same time.
We're all doing it
Okay.
at once.
So this is high stakes, and then you guys can react to it, and the people will see that because I don't know what's happening either.
Check
It'll be,
it out, Kayla.
it'll be
I'm
up to
working on
Lena
it.
to
It's-
tell us what the results are once they pop in roll 20. So as soon as everybody's ready to hit that enter key, we'll do a countdown.
Almost there. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So many letters.
All right.
On 3.
We pass.
On
1,
3.
2, 3.
Wow.
Is it 5 votes for different ones?
no.
Uh,
One of them is
Fellowship of the
contested,
Black Opal.
which is both
I
of them
like it.
combined. Which is why I like it.
I do like that one, actually.
Well, Black Opal has definitely won.
Yes.
I, of course, am open to Fellowship of the Black Opal, but under the rules of the vote, I lost. I will concede, and I will leave it up to Lena. Do you want the Order or the Fellowship of the Black Opal?
Well, regardless of what I want, it looks like the Order won the votes. Yeah. So, as of now, we are the Order of the Black Opals.
There we are.
You're here.
Sweet.
And
You
as
know,
you
it
make
feels
this
good that
decision,
we
you
have
look
it
at your
in.
necklaces and they start to shine. They don't
Really?
actually, but
Oh.
that'd be kind of cool, right?
Wow.
They are not even remotely magical. But it would be neat.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yes.
As you guys finish up the vote, I'm assuming this is happening down in the bar area because Tessian was down there drinking.
Yeah.
You see, wrong section. You see a male human walk in the front door of the witch's cauldron. Brown trousers, green and gray striped suspenders. Looks like he's cut from working cloth, and as such, his color palette isn't necessarily the best complementary colors, but it's also not, like eye-glaringly bad. He has a pair of glaives, both of which have an opal on the hilt. One is on a sheath on the side of his belt, and one seems to be strapped to his back somehow.
Oh my God, we can recruit him.
Yes.
As you get kind of a closer look to him, he does enter, kind of scan the room, and start heading your direction. You kind of see him as he approaches. Graying hair, especially, like it's got more color in the front, but as the further back you go, it gets more gray. A relatively weathered and wrinkled face, and hazel eyes. And he kind of flags the group down as he approaches. You're in the middle of finishing the conversation about the group name. Says, by the way, it seems relatively no nonsense. Like he's kind of coming a beeline towards you as soon as he spotted you, like he's got things to do. Says, hello there. I believe you're the group that spoke with Cass.
Yes,
That's
that
us.
is us.
Frederick Stapleton. It's nice to meet you. I'm basically here to give you as much information as we have about the kidnappers, and then Cass gave me the option. I can either accompany you or head back to base. It's up to you. Once you've been given the information, you can decide. And he doesn't seem unfriendly, just, again, very like brass tacks, like, all right, here's what's happening. I don't really have time for pleasantries.
All right, well, let's hear it.
Yeah.
So we first heard about this 4 days ago when someone turned up missing. Haven't been able to find out a lot of information about that one, especially because it was the first and we didn't have a lot to go on. But that person has still not yet returned. It was a citizen of the city, not a noble, just a regular folk, man in his mid-30s, family man. Hasn't returned since he went missing 4 days ago. But as we started to look more into his disappearance, we found out a little bit more information about the next two that went missing, let's see, about 36 hours ago, maybe a little more. The reports that we got from questioning people that at least had been close to seeing what happened were that they could swear one of them seemed to be floating off. And this information came from a tavern near the south exit of the city, so we weren't sure if that was people who were drinking or, maybe weren't in their right mind. But even so, there were really no other traces of what happened. There were no signs of struggle in either case. The two that were picked up 2 days ago were done in relatively quick succession, about the same time of day, but there was seemingly no connection between them. They weren't from the same house, the same line of work. They were just in the same part of the city at that time when they were scooped up. One of them was an elvish woman. We think she was in her late 50s or early 60s based on the description. And that's the one that people saw perhaps floating or something like that. And then there was another one, an older child, maybe 12 or 13, another human, and he was not witnessed being taken, but people know that he was last seen around that same time. We've been dispatching as many men as we can spare to look around the city in the southern region to see if there was anything there. Turned up almost nothing, but we had a couple of our best trackers try and find information, and it seems it's possible, working off a tip we got this morning, that they could be outside the city to the southwest. I have not had a chance to dispatch people to check this out yet. It was one of the things we were going to get to today, but Cass's attention was taken elsewhere this morning, so we're running a little bit behind. But it's about all we know. I'm happy to try to answer questions, but admittedly, we're also flying a little blind on this one.
So you have a location then outside of the city, or at least an area for us to search in?
Based on what the trackers were turning up, I need to pull up the map. Hold on. Why I didn't have this up is really just a failure of me as a person. Yeah, sure. Just take forever to load Gmail. It's fine. We just have gigabit internet. It's not a big deal. There you are. And the map's in the bottom one. Why is this so slow? Is it because we're cranking out video content? Is that why?
That would make sense.
For you, the viewer,
Yeah.
of course.
Yes. He says, trackers didn't pursue the trail to its furthest, but it was strange. It was like there had been activity, there were footprints, but there was seemingly no other sign that someone had been through. They know they're headed in the southwest direction, and their best guess is that it does not go as far as the Ceruleus River. It's somewhere that would be closer. There might be some small encampment out there, somewhere where they're just holding up for the time being, but that would put you maybe an hour or two travels southwest of the city at most. It's possible they crossed the river, but if they did, then we have a problem on our hands because they're going to be harder to track.
Well, Karash, you have detect magic, right? So should be relatively easy, right?
It does not last for terribly long, but yes.
Well, maybe we can get to the area of the southwest and go from there. I have to tell you, that I'm no detective, but 4 days missing, typically the prognosis is not very good.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but we have a little bit more hope for the ones taken more recently. We're also not entirely sure what to make of it because there's no ransom demands, no notes left behind for whatever the purpose might be of having taken them. They just up and vanished, for lack of a better term, and we're trying to figure out what happened to them. So I don't know if I would say the outlook's anything but bleak, but we owe it to them to try.
I agree.
I think so too.
Agreed.
They deserve justice, if nothing else. I hope we find them still living.
It is strange that no demands have been made, and this number of people isn't not enough to match some of the other kidnappings that we have seen in our travels. Usually we have seen entire shipments of slaves and the like, not less than a handful of people. But it is still a mystery worth solving. I agree.
And unless other people have been missing and just not reported, this is the extent of it. There are no others, at least from the last few weeks, that we know anything about.
If you can spare the manpower, I don't see why you can't accompany us, unless you're needed elsewhere. And I suppose by splitting up, you can cover other areas, but we'd be happy to have you.
Well, Cass has a few other folks checking out a couple other leads in the southern part of the city, but I don't know all about what's going on, but she seemed rushed in a way I don't normally see from her, and told me that she was working on something of the utmost importance, but it was too dangerous to tell me what. So I know she's got at least a few other of us working on her side to do whatever it is she's up to, but she said it would be fine if I accompanied you, so if you'll have me, I would appreciate the help.
Does this guy seem, I don't know, legit? Like, I don't know, scan him up and down. I mean, what's my general vibe of him? Like, does he want to join us? Is he too eager to join us? That sort of thing?
You can make an insight check.
Okay. I don't have high hopes for this. 3.
Oh,
Yeah.
3.
I don't either.
Oh
Taking the measure of a man you've known for exactly 4.5 minutes, you kind of keep just sort of try and get the vibe off of him. Seems pretty straightforward. His motivations don't sound wrong to you or off, and he does seem legitimately sort of perplexed is probably too strong, but like whatever's been happening with Cass is abnormal, and he's picked up on it, but he doesn't seem to have any inclination as to what that might be or how it connects to you folks. But yeah, as far as like, you know, is he really in on this? Got no idea.
Yeah. Well, Lena, I suppose you get final say on this. Is this something you'd like us to pick up?
Yes, I think so. I think we owe it to these people to look into what's going on and see if we can't find them.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'd rather get this finished with as soon as possible, given everything else that's going on.
Now, I thought we were waiting for someone to tell us more about the play on Dryden.
Yes, but that's what has to happen first. Before that is essentially she has to talk to Rezi has to talk to the Empress.
Oh,
If
so
that doesn't
we're
happen until later in the
expecting
day.
that's
Yeah.
going to take a
That's
while.
part of why Cass was having you look into this, was so that she could have a time to help Rezia corral her sister and go over what the play might be, given the options that you presented.
Is
her.
that the week? Is that...
No.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't worry about the week. I
Okay.
brought it up at the end of last session off camera just because it's something that could be happening soon, but you guys have an obstacle to clear before you get to that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And his name is Faust Dryden, so...
Oh. I was thinking it would work without a hitch, and he would get shanked in prison.
Exactly.
Nice.
Shivved.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Build a
I'm,
great villain, kill him off screen.
I'm
I
ready,
mean, what villain?
I'm ready to
So you guys know you have at least the afternoon, like the morning into the
Yeah.
afternoon. If it was going to take her time to isolate the Empress before she would even have a chance to talk to her, let alone how long it might take to formulate the plan and then come back to you.
and we get to sleep on the train, so let's do it.
Yeah, you're pretty much ready to go.
Yeah.
Everybody didn't quite get a full night's sleep, but it was fine. Nobody was suffering from any exhaustion or anything because of it. Everybody has their full complement of stuff available to them. So I'm assuming you guys hitch up the wagon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Toss all of our stuff in it, hop in the back. Bring our new friend, Frederick.
Frederick. Very good. I'm assuming, and you can certainly correct me, that Lena is driving.
Yes, I shall.
I'm not forcing you to drive. It's just
No,
you're certainly the most
I
well suited for it.
want to drive. Now, are these do these horses have names? Because it's not our wagon. Our wagon is in Timberbrook,
Which we
is
just
like-
left. It's just there now.
which is
Sick.
sad now that I think about it. But we didn't really have a choice, so
I suppose that's true. I don't know why I assumed it was here because it couldn't have got off the train.
So do we not have a wagon?
No. So
Oh.
Frederick,
Let's walk, baby.
Frederick, in his infinite Deus Ex Machina wisdom,
Love him.
offers to supply a wagon and some horses, which are not
Sweet.
named.
Okay,
They're not yours.
no,
Frederick,
that's
you
fine.
beautiful human.
But I will definitely stroke their necks and talk to them a little bit before we get going, as everyone's like packing up and stuff.
Okay. So you guys load up the wagon. Frederick offers to sit in the front as well, mostly because it's not that he doesn't trust you with the horses. It's just, they're new, so he's just wants to make sure he can take over if anything happens. He'll probably be quickly proven that that's an unnecessary step, but he doesn't know that.
Nope.
You
But
guys,
I also need guidance. I need wayfinding anyways, so it's perfect.
you guys load things up, and it's not too far to get out the southern exit of the city. Doing so takes you outside basically the remainder of the residential area where, again, people are milling about. Most of them seemingly making their way over to the market district. A few of them just heading towards the center of town, closer to where the train is. But for the most part, as it was when you first arrived, but just in more heavier volume now, a lot of people seemingly pretty well off. Even in this part of the town where these are commoners and not the nobles, pretty much everybody in Waychester seems to be making at least a decent life for themselves. And so you can see it's reflected in people's demeanor, their clothing. Everybody seems to be doing pretty well. As you make it to the southern exit, I'm going to have anybody who would like to make a survival check.
Sure.
Anybody who
I'll
wants
do
to
it.
try and follow some tracks.
I'll do it.
Oh, God. Wow. Can we just go back and have a do-over on life?
No.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, okay, Lena.
God.
What happened?
So
What
like,
did I
Taking ass and
do?
taking
Oh, I
names.
critted. Oh, jeez. Okay.
Okay. Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
Grail also got a 15 though.
You critted and you already have a ridiculous modifier.
You got a critical 28.
Jesus, Frederick rolled a 19.
We are on top of it.
It's a 22.
That's
Um,
closer. Middle
So
and third.
he has you, after he hands the reins to you, Lennon, you kind of lead the horses outside the city with the cart in tow. I'm not going to have you make an animal handling check at this point. It's just horses. They bow to your will.
Yes.
Um,
Excellent.
As you make your way outside the city and start just heading a little bit to the southwest, he kind of stops you for a moment as you pull up and suggests everybody kind of check around to see if they can follow what the scouts already had been. And everybody who does kind of leaps off, just looks at the ground around you to see where like the traffic has been and whatnot. By heading a little bit out of the city first, one thing's become pretty clear to Grail, Frederick himself, and certainly you, Lena, is that there has definitely been recent activity heading due southwest from the city. Because he's gotten you basically far enough outside the city. This is off the beaten path. The road due south is one that's frequently traveled, but heading out this direction towards the river is not impossible, but pretty infrequent. And as such, you kind of pick up on, the scouts seem to be correct. The tracks are heading in that direction. Lena, one of the things you notice because you're crit is that there are two sets that seem to be the most fresh.
Okay.
They have seemingly matching imprints, but they're not shoes. They're just feet. And they are there, the sets are there twice. Twice coming, twice going. Two sets. There is no sign of any additional people alongside those sets of footprints.
And the one part where there's only one, that's where Jesus carried him.
That's correct.
So I'll make a note to, I'll point it out to whoever's next to me that there are these imprints of just bare feet, I guess. Can I tell if they're like
Yeah, how
human?
big?
Yeah, like what's the
No, they're human
size? Are
feet,
they
not bare feet.
human feet? I don't know. Like, can I tell?
They look humanoid,
Okay.
but not human.
Oh, that's
There's
weird.
feet, there's 5 toes, but they're not necessarily in a traditional human's shape.
Interesting. Okay.
What that means exactly, you can't glean even from a 20 because you're not familiar with whatever this is.
Yeah.
Could I do like a history check or not really? Because
I
I
don't-
didn't even pass the first test.
I don't think this is something that anybody's going to have any prior experience with.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I do make the observation that these are humanoid-esque imprints, but that there's two sets coming and going, and they're pretty fresh. So I think we're on the right track. Is essentially.
And the two sets are remarkably close. Like, not in lockstep, but like you can see them both within maybe like 15 feet of each other, both coming and going side by side
Interesting. Okay.
on 2 separate occasions, which would sort of match the kidnappings to an extent.
Yeah.
So a natural 20 will give you some of that.
Okay.
All right. Well, make a mental note.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll cast Mage Armor, because I don't know what this is about, but I don't like it.
Frederick kind of nods as you could explain this. He goes, well, it would fit what the scouts said, but makes me wonder, were they carried off? Were they... I don't know. I
It's strange.
don't quite get it. And there's no marks, by the way, just because, again, natural 20. There's no marks, no signs of a cart or some other device that may have come through here. Just footprints.
Okay.
So you guys hop back in the wagon, continue heading in that direction. Lena, since you're steering the cart, and we're the one who had the best sense of where the tracks were headed, you have a now pretty easy bearing on where to head.
Nice. Okay.
As you head towards the southwest, about a half hour passes or so. If anybody would like to do anything with the time of the journey.
I'm going to compose a letter to send to someone somehow back in to try and get to the 2 Dragonborn.
Oh, you know what? And seeing that will remind me that I have a librarian that I'm supposed to be writing to. So,
yeah.
Momo. I'll do that. I'm going to write it, and I'm going to think about if I actually want to send it and if it could get intercepted and put her in danger somehow. Probably not, but write it first. Worry about sending later.
Okay.
Tessian will probably try to teach Grail some stuff if she has, because we talked about trying to maybe touch on Arcana and magic and stuff. So he'll kind of just go over some basics, like what she knows about spells, kind of figuring out what she knows, what the difference is between where she's at, and what he knows to be the basics, that kind of thing.
I'm down.
I'll probably converse with Frederick, ask him how long he's been in the city, does he like it there, just an assortment of just, your usual kind of small talk questions.
Says, well, I was on assignment in Lycidian once, but I've been in the capital for better part of 20 years now, maybe 21 at this point. All kind of starts to blur together the older you get. But I like it there. There's good people in the city. And sure, some of the nobles can be a little bit stuffy, but most of them mean well. And the ones that don't, we occasionally scare them a little bit just to keep them in line.
Do you now?
Oh, nothing too serious. We wouldn't want to be at risk of losing our jobs, but, if they're making petty crimes happen or loitering in the streets, or maybe just a quick reminder that we could scoop them up at any time. It's interesting. The ones that are more likely to be all hoity-toity are the ones that you can spook more easily.
Ah. I bet that's fun.
Doesn't take much to keep them in check.